So now, how did you cultivate your creativity? You know.
Good question.
I know, J-Ross TV.
Hey man, you been playing yesterday, and I talked about that. That's like part of my concept: creativity, authenticity, and definitely creativity is.
But where it comes from inside of you, just like the years of learning all the songs or listening to songs, and you incorporate them into your plan. And well, I got another question beside that. If you add all that together, all right, you listening to all these cats and you touring with guys. How did you find your own individualism? You know, your own style where everybody say, oh man, that's T there, dog. You know.
I mean, it's not something I actually look for. It's just something that naturally progresses, and that comes from what I listen to. Going to the root, I was telling people yesterday, like I used to hate whenever I heard somebody play a samba, you know, and then, you know, going to Brazil and dancing with a traditional samba troupe and feeling and experience a real samba is nothing. It don't have nothing to do with what we hear that samba is. So I go, you know, get DVDs, you know, go to where the music is, get just the basic roots of the music, and really understanding each and every part of a samba. You know, the surdo drum. You know, in samba you got samba batucada, samba reggae. You know, so it's so many different.
What do you think about my mama more?
Man, you climbing.
Reggae, samba, jamba.
Samba reggae, samba batucada, you know, it's different. And actually knowing what those things are, and then you take it and you interpret it how you intake, and you know, you interpret it and take it how you do. And I think what happens a lot, we as people, it's just natural, we end up getting a copy of the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy.
Yeah. So
you really don't, you go and you check somebody out, you see what they do, and you just copy exactly what they do, and you don't know how they derive to that. You know, the point is to see how they got to that point and go back and check out some of that early stuff, and then you'll come to you. But when you only copy and a copy of the copy of the copy, it's going to be hard for you to get to an original sound. That's why if you listen, you know, I would say back in the 90s, I'm not saying you can't do it now, but back in the 90s or before that, you hear records and you can be like, oh, that's this guy, that's this guy, that's this guy. That's much harder to do now because a lot of people are starting to sound the same. And that's because we playing like the player who's ever hot or whatever, and it all starts to sound the same. And not just drums, I'm speaking just music in general.
Yeah.
You know, like before when you heard Chick on the radio, you're like, that's Chick Corea.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. You heard Herbie, it's like, that's Herbie Hancock.
Yeah. You know? But let me ask you this though. Now, how did you face your fears? You know how some people be afraid?
Oh, I was one of them. Still sometimes.
Straight?
Man, like, I'm gonna let the secret out the bag. I tell people this in my master classes, but growing up in East St. Louis, you know, when we grew up, it was midnight musicals all the time around the St. Louis area, East St. Louis area, Bi-State, what they call it. And younger, when I was coming up, if the church was too big, I would be asleep. You know, I wouldn't go and play. But if the church was small enough, I would go and I would be, you know, just playing my heart out. You know, so I was always afraid to play in front of big audiences and things like that. And it took me a while to get over fear of playing in front of people, especially musicians and drummers. And then at one point in my maturity, in my maturation, I just was like, man, I have to play for the people on the stage that I'm playing with. You know, I can't play for another drummer. You know, no other. I can name the few drummers who actually got me gigs. You know, got me or recommend me to gigs. You know, and I got into this. I moved to New York to, you know, because I wanted to be able to recommend Mark Kohlenberg to gigs or Damaris or a lot of my friends or recommend people to gigs. I wanted to be in a position to do that, and I do that. But I realized that you can't play for other drummers. You know, sometimes I would be on a gig and the gig might call for me to play just ballad, you know, brushes the whole night. Somebody would be like, man, Terreon can't play, but then they hear me on a whole other situation, and it's totally different. So I was smart enough that you need to do what's necessary for the gig, and that's one of the reasons that I can play with so many different people in different genres and keep the job and keep the gig, not just, you know, do it that one time and like you don't get that call back. You know, you don't want that, you know, so it's very important to play the music for the gig that these people are hiring you for.
Yeah. Hey, can you explain to like these young whippersnappers on the importance of taking care of their money? when you were a professional musician?
I had nothing to do with young whippersnappers.
That's anybody, huh?
I know some old people broke, so they ain't got nothing to do with it.
Well, we try to educate the young folks then.
All right.
What could you tell them to kind of prepare for a life of what you do on the road?
Well, I mean, this is not even about music. This is, in general, we need to have more financial literacy in the African American community, period. You know, we need to start them at junior high school. I mean, not junior high school, but start them at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, give them a bank account, show them how to balance a checkbook, show them what is interest, and show them how you gain interest and how much more it'll accrue over so many years. Like if you put $100 in a bank a month, by the time you're 60 and you didn't touch this, you're gonna have this amount of money. You know, if we start them young, you know, in the next couple of generations, you know, wealth in the black community. And I think it's just period, not necessarily to do with just music, just financial literacy, period. You know, stocks, bonds, you know, mutual funds. We need to know about that. You know?
Yeah.
And not just that, but housing, you know, real estate market. You know, the importance of not renting, you know, not, you know, living out your car, you know, driving, you know, $70,000 worth of vehicle and you rent an apartment, you know, that don't make sense.
Mm.
Just literally, you know, simple things, you know, but definitely save your money. You know, like you might have the best gig in the world right now, and then after 2 years from now, that best gig in the world is not happening. Then for whatever reason, you're not getting the same amount of money that you was getting that year, but you've been living on that level. You know, it's not going to definitely budget your money for over the long period of time and think long term versus short term.